Okay, you're wearing shoes today, different shoes today. We're going to add Bangladesh if you look at your shoes right now. China? Bangladesh, I knew it. Indonesia. Anybody have Dominican?
Mine's China.
China? Okay. So, guys, on the test, I'm going to ask you to explain this to me, okay? That how, I think the question will read something like, how do tariffs clog the international flow of trade, okay? So I want you to remember, guys, the United States is unique in the fact that we are consumers. Per capita, we consume more than any other people on the planet. You guys know that? We use more energy than anybody on the planet. We consume more goods than anybody on the planet, and generally more food than most. Okay? So listen, when we stop buying your products because of tariffs, you don't make money, which means you don't have the purchasing power to buy our goods that we want to sell you. And this is how you see the clogging of trade. Can you follow that? And can you explain that to me on the test? Of course you can say, yeah, Europeans are going to retaliate with tariffs on our stuff, which is going to make our stuff more expensive, which means we won't sell. Yes, but the whole answer involves more than that. Okay? All right. So, done with tariffs right now. We're going to move on to the other T, and that is taxes. Okay? All right, Max?
I'm great.
All right. All right. So, Andrew Mellon, with 2 L's, who, of course, is the Secretary of what? Oh, nice. Treasury, okay? For 3 presidents, right? Harding, Coolidge, and Hoover. Mellon says, listen, the war's over. We need to repeal these really high taxes because the taxes went way up during the war. As you can see, here the wealthy tax rate was 65%, guys. So if you made $100,000 in 1918, the federal government took $65,000. You kept $35,000. Yeah. So it makes sense. Government doesn't need as much money now because the war's over to cut taxes. Now, Mellon really wants to cut taxes. As you can see from the notes here. So first thing that the Congress is going to pass is a repeal of excess profits tax. So if you were making bullets for the war, munitions, you were making a lot of money, okay? And you were making a lot of profit, so they put an extra tax on your manufacturer, okay? The wealthy tax rate, as I said, is going to drop from 65% to 50%. Now, Mellon wanted it to go to 25%, and it would eventually by 1924. We're in 1921. We've got a new presidency. Our presidents back then took office in March, and so this is what they're doing in the first days of the Harding administration. This is important to remember, though, that taxes will be dropped to 25%. Now, Mellon just wanted to cut taxes really on the wealthy, but Congress has to get reelected. They like to be reelected. There's a lot more middle class and lower class earners than there are wealthy earners. So they cut taxes for everybody. Does that make sense? Because there's more middle class and lower class voters than wealthy voters. Okay. Now let me make a comment here. By 1924, they lowered the wealthy tax rate to 25%. Does anybody know what the highest tax bracket, income tax bracket is in the United States today?
37.5%.
37. Okay, before Trump got in office in 2017, it was 39.6. So Trump lowered the top tax bracket, one after that, the one after that, the one after that, and the one after that. He lowered all of them. Okay, And those tax cuts have been renewed as of about a month ago, okay? Here's the thing. What happens in 1929? The stock market crash and the ensuing what? Great Depression. So guys, when you're in a recession, an economic recession or depression, one way to try and get out of that is tax cuts. So think about this. Like say the economy is slow, contracting, so you do a tax cut. That means people are going to keep more of their money. Yes? What are they going to do with that money? You're going to spend it, right? And we are a consumer-driven economy. When we're not spending money, guys, our economy struggles. So when we're spending money, our economy grows. Now here's the thing. In 1930, 31, 32, there was no real way to do a tax cut because tax cuts were already really low, or taxes were already really low. So imagine what the tax is on middle class. Maybe 16, 17%, 18%, okay? So there's no, you can't really use tax cuts as a way to give, the economy a good kick in the pants because taxes are already very low. I'm not going to say too low, they're just very low. Okay? I'll let somebody else decide if 25% is low. Okay. I'd take 25%. My wife and I are in those up there, those other brackets. Okay. So maybe you'll be there one day. Is that the plan? Be in the high tax bracket? Fun? You're all over that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What are you going to study in college?
Nursing.
Okay. You can get
Yeah.
there. Yeah. Absolutely.
I just love having higher taxes.
Yeah. We all want to pay higher taxes. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So good there. Anything else to mention with that? Not really. So it's a Republican presidency. They're going to cut taxes. Okay. All right. Next, one of the other things I want to do is help veterans. Okay. I want to help the veterans. Remember, our Army went from 100,000 to 3.5 million during the war. And they said, you know what? We ought to do something nice for our veterans. Like some sort of pension or something like that. So they came up with this thing called the bonus bill, otherwise known as the Adjusted Compensation Act. In fact, the bonus bill and the Adjusted Compensation Act are the same thing. So what's another term for the Adjusted Compensation Act? You're listening. Okay. Because sometimes you guys just start writing notes and you don't listen. So you miss it. And I want you to remember that these notes will be up here for a while. In fact, if you don't get them down, say, Mr. Ebright, can you put that slide back up? And then I'll put it back up. Okay? Because sometimes it's easier to remember when you're listening, not just writing. Yes? So what's another term for the bonus bill?
Compensation.
Do you think you could answer a multiple choice question like that on the test? Now, what is this thing? This is like a pension for our veterans, okay? As you can see, we're going to do some math in history class called cross-curricular learning. So if you were to multiply, let's say you were a soldier and you went over there to France for a year and you served overseas. So you got $1.25 a day for every day you served overseas, which if we do the math is $456.25. And let's say you served a year at home, 2 years in the Army. You got $1 for every day at home, 365. You add that together, you get $821. That is your pension. Okay. Now, we sent about 2 million troops overseas. 1.2 million saw combat, for a total of about 200 days. So, this insurance policy or pension you can get in 1945. See, the government doesn't have a bunch of money just to like give away to the veterans. So they'll pay for it later on in 1945. That's what they said. Now, if you need some money now, let's say you were in the war and you got wounded and you spent some time in the hospital, you get healthy, you get out of the hospital, you got to go find a job. You're a veteran, okay? You can borrow 25% of your pension for use now, after the war, which 25% of 821 is going to be $205 and some change. In 1921-22, would $205 get you possibly into an apartment and a new set of clothes, go out and look for a job? Absolutely. $205 would do that back then. It's a lot of money. Okay. I mean, you could probably rent a place for a month for, probably, $30, $40. Okay. New set of clothes, $10, $15, something like that, So, yeah, we've had a lot of inflation since 100 years. Inflation. Okay. So, yeah, that's quite a bit of money. Okay. So, this is something our veterans, many of them took the government up on and borrowed against that pension. Okay. Now, as you know, as I just discussed, there's going to be a depression in the 1930s. Yes, these veterans are going to want their money, but the law says you can't get it till 1945. So when we get to the depression, guys, we will bring this topic up again about the bonus bill. All right, because the veterans are going to want their money, and there's going to be a big fight about it in this country. Okay, so we'll come back to it a little bit later on. Sound good? It does, Mr. Ebright. Sounds great.
Sounds
Yes.
fantastic, Mr.
Okay. All right. You guys are a pretty quiet class.
I'll work on that. We're listeners.
Now, first hour, it's horrifying. It's horrifying. I am literally talking to the wall. They say nothing. Zero. I got Itzel's in that class. She'll say a little, but she's about the only one. Itzel. I don't know. What do you mean? How many Itzels can there be?
There's two. Is she in St. Sebastian? Maybe two.
Are they sisters?
Sounds the same thing.
Are they cousins?
No.
She's Hispanic. Does that help?
No.
They're both Hispanic.
It's a
Does she
Hispanic
have dark
name.
hair? Like,
Dark hair, long.
Is there lanyard
I
like?
don't know.
is she, is
What's the names? What's the last name?
Torres.
Torres.
They're both Torres?
No.
Torres or Lubez?
Torres and Lumbez.
Torres.
Yeah.
Yeah, she'll talk a little bit.
She's young.
Yeah. But nobody else. Nobody. It's horrible. Okay. Oh, no, I want them to know, because I give them crap almost every day. Because I ask a question and they just look at me.
Who else is in that class?
Ridge Trail never says anything.
Ridge.
Never says a word. Now I do have this one guy in there named Dan. And I'm like, I know he can do it. You know what I mean?
Danny Avila?
I don't know.
Is he Hispanic?
Yes, bigger guy.
Yeah. Just wait till Halloween.
But he's sleepy in the morning, you know?
He's sleeping colder.
He's sleepy all the time.
All right, now, hey, did you see this? Harding and Coolidge, these are conservatives. They don't like to spend money. So they vetoed this. Okay, then, no, we're not spending that much money. This is like millions of veterans. We're going to have to come up with all this money. Like, what are we doing? But Congress really wanted to do it. So I don't know if you know this, we'll learn it in government, but the president can veto a legislation, but if 2/3 of both houses of Congress agree, they can override a veto. Okay, and that's what happened in this case. All right, we're moving on. Now, guys,
So did the veterans get their money or no?
in 1945, yes.
So then what did the veto and the override do then? Because wouldn't they have vetoed the bill and then overridden it to be?
So they vetoed it, so it wasn't a law, and then 2/3 of both houses of Congress passed it again, and it automatically becomes law.
So they didn't want to give you that money out.
Hoover and Coolidge didn't,
Oh.
or at least not this much.
Harding.
Yeah, what did I say? Hoover, Harding and Coolidge, yes.
Wait, so if the veteran died before 1945, did the family get money?
Yeah, that's a good question. Generally with the pensions, yes, that would be the case. So. It is today. So like now, Social Security, whichever person's check, husband or wife's, is bigger, you can, one of them dies, you can take the one that gets more. Okay.
Some people can still just get their social security until they're 300 years old.
Yeah, I've heard that. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, there's some corruption that we need to fix. Okay, guys. Thus far, when it's all said and done, when we talk about the Great Depression, which is coming up, okay, we got a lot of fun stuff to talk about first, but some of the things that we're talking about now are going to be causes of the Great Depression. And by the time it's all said and done, I'm going to give you 6 causes of the Great Depression. Thus far, talked about 1. What do you think it is? Not the taxes, the tariffs. Okay. So guys, I only showed you a couple tariffs. We're going to double down and triple down on tariffs. We're going to do a bunch more. So a lot of historians use tariffs as one of the causes. The second cause I'm going to give you is this. War debts. Okay. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is something I might ask you to explain on a test, just like the tariffs. War debts. Okay. Now, and because of that, I decided to put together a nice little infographic for you. Okay. Let me tell you, this is going to be on the board for the rest of the hour. Okay? Okay. Now, so check this out. It's called an infographic. All right? So the first line says, the Allies owed war debts to the U.S. amounting to $9 billion. So remember, the war starts in 1914, right? We don't get into what year? 17. But do we have friends? These are our friends, the Allies. So what are we going to give them to help them against the bad guys, against the Central Powers?
Money.
You're going to give them money, weapons, food, medicine. Yeah, we're going to help them. Okay? The British are our friends, right? We're going to help the British. We're going to help the French, okay? I don't know how close a relationship we have with the Russians at this point, but we're going to help them. Now, a lot of this money is spent here. So if we're making weapons here and sending them over there, this is kind of a good deal. Like, they owe us. You know what I mean? When you borrow money and you borrow these things, you're supposed to pay it back. Yes? Now, is the Ukraine going to pay us back? Probably not. Now, one of the ideas that Trump has is that, okay, since you're probably not going to pay us back, we'll help you in this war, but you got to give us mineral rights to some of your rare earth metals in Ukraine. You got to give those to the United States. You know, like lithium and cobalt and some of these other things that they have in Ukraine. It's better to mine it in Ukraine than mine it in Minnesota. Because you guys don't want to mine in your backyard, do you? You know, mining is nasty stuff, right? All right, so they owe us $9 billion. Now, who gets blamed for this war? Germany. Let's bring Germany in to our infographic. Okay. Now, did I tell you guys about this podcast I've been listening to? Any of you guys listen to podcasts? Okay, that's better. Okay, this second hour, nobody. Joe Rogan podcast. What kind of podcast you listen to? Say it again.
About 4 podcasts.
4 o'clock. About 4 o'clock. Is it good?
Yeah.
Some people you know run that.
Yeah. It's
Is that
it's the priests over at the House of Formation.
Okay. What else? What other podcast?
Mine are just like about.
Theo Vaughn.
Okay, that's funny.
I just felt like random stuff I'm interested
Okay, so my wife turned me on to this. She's been listening to it for a couple of months, and she kept telling me about it. I finally started listening to it. It's called The Rest is History. Okay, The Rest is History podcast. It's two British historians. It's really kind of good. It's really addictive. So I've been listening to this podcast by these guys about the rise of Nazism. Okay, and for you guys, that's around the corner. I'll be talking about that. Okay, and so one of the things they talked about was that Germany didn't really feel like it was their fault because they were surrounded by the French and the Russians, and they felt like they needed to help Austria, which is their friend, Austria-Hungarian Empire. Okay, and so when the war was over and everybody blamed Germany, they were like, what the heck, man? Why are you blaming us? Okay, and the German media, here's something else, guys. The German media was using propaganda. So the German people didn't know that there was actually a chance that Germany could lose the war. So when they surrendered, a lot of Germans are like, what the hell happened? I thought we were winning. Okay, so this is going to have an impact moving forward. Sorry, I'm just sharing information with you that I thought was interesting from the podcast. The rest is history. Okay, I listened. The first one I listened to. Any Lord of the Rings fans in here? Come on, don't be ashamed. I love Lord of the Rings. Okay, and so they did one on J.R. Tolkien. Now, you guys know C.S. Lewis, right?
Yeah.
So Tolkien and C.S. Lewis were writing about the same time in Britain. During World War II, both Tolkien and C.S. Lewis were what you called air raid wardens. So, Germany bombs Britain, right? You guys see Narnia, right? They bombed Britain. And they're like people that help people get to safety during the air raids. These two, crazy famous authors, all right? Tolkien and C.S. Lewis. Pretty interesting stuff. I learned that on The Rest is History podcast. There's so many different topics. There's one on, they have 700 episodes.
What credibility do these guys have?
They're historians. So the stuff I listened to on the rise of Nazism, a lot of it I knew. Okay, and then they threw in some stuff that was very thought-provoking that I didn't know. I have no reason not to believe them. Okay, but there's one on you guys know about the Library of Alexandria?
Yeah.
There's one on that. That's my next one I'm going to listen to. I'm kind of
Is that the 8th wonder of the world allegedly?
Yeah, I think, and just
that got destroyed during World
Yeah.
War II.
I'd be interested because I don't really know a lot about that. Actually, it's before World War II.
That was a long
I
time
thought
ago.
Long time
You
ago.
should let us
Yeah.
know.
Huh?
Let us know what you learned.
Yeah, for sure.
You should get them
Maybe
I
to.
I'll
love sharing knowledge.
You should get them to plug your channel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sponsor.
They
Sponsor you.
They don't care about me. So Germany gets blamed. And remember the Treaty of Versailles, yes? They're going to force Germany to pay huge reparations to repair the damage for starting the war. How much? Check this out. $33 billion. Now, what's the German currency? Starts with an M. The German mark, okay? Guys, I remind you that Germany lost 2 million men in World War I. I didn't tell you this, but I learned it on the podcast. They had about 8 million men in uniform during the war, Germany did. Over half were casualties. So casualty is wounded, missing in action, or dead. Over half. This war was devastating for Germany. Where are they going to get this money to pay the Allies these reparations? Well, some of it they're going to get from us because we're a kind, loving, and forgiving people, the Americans. We're going to try and help Germany in its time of need. Now, we don't have $33 billion to give to Germany. You understand? In fact, these people owe us $9 billion. And guys, it wasn't cheap to run our war either, for us to go over there. So we are going to do some post-World War I loans to Germany. And what is Germany going to do with the money that we give to them?
Build the Nazi.
No, they're going to give it to the Allies as payment, and then the Allies are going to turn around and give the same money that we just gave to Germany back to us.
That's how much more boring than it was a Nazi empire.
No, not yet. Okay? So, what ends up happening, over the years, we end up forgiving most of this debt, and we don't get paid. And in fact, you can see here, the only European country to pay us back their debt was Finland. Okay? Now, here's the thing, guys. And yes, I am foreshadowing. Germany's in trouble, financially. Okay? And so there are times where they cannot make these payments. They're going to start printing money. And what happens when you print money and print money and print money?
Currency becomes devalued.
You get inflation and the currency becomes devalued. So let's say you were a German citizen. You're 60 years old and you worked for 40 years to save a nest egg. So when you could no longer work, you had some money to live on. And all of a sudden, the government starts printing. Let's say you have a nest egg of 100,000 or 50,000 German marks, which you hope is going to last you 10 years. And then the government starts printing German marks. Your retirement value, your nest egg, loses almost all of its value. Okay, so 20 years ago, I said, listen, you can retire if you have $1 million. You should be able to live 20 years on 25 years to life expectancy on $1 million. Today, sorry guys, you're going to need more like $2 or $3 million to live comfortably, travel and do the things you want to do. And by the time you guys retire, hell, if you're not a millionaire, well, you're mid. Okay. Sorry. You're middle class. All right. So here's one of the things I want to tell you. During the 20s, after the war, the Treaty of Versailles made this region along France, Germany, in Germany, a demilitarized zone. The Germans were not allowed to put any troops on its border with France. Okay, there's a river that runs along here called the Rhine, and it's called the Rhineland. Okay, so when the Germans could not pay the reparations during the 1920s, on a couple different occasions, the French army went into Germany, where Germany had no troops, and went into the coal-rich Ruhr region and took coal at the point of a gun as payment for reparations. Now, let's just pretend for a minute we owe a bunch of money to Canada. Okay, and we can't pay back those debts. So Canada sends its army into North Dakota, South Dakota, and Nebraska and takes wheat and corn as payment for the money we owe Canada. How are we going to feel about our neighbors to the north? Are we going to like the Canadians? Are we going to hate the Canadians? Do we want to kill the Canadians for coming into our country, raiding our country like that? Think about this, people. The French were so vindictive towards the Germans. And you can't really blame them, because in 1871, Germany invaded France in the Franco-Prussian War. And then in 1914, they invaded France again. And all the French want to do is just make sure that the Germans never rise again to do that one more time. So we're going to punish the hell out of them. And of course, what happens?
The
Say it.
Nazis rise to power.
Yes.
Finally.
Adolf Hitler. You know what I mean? And he doesn't have any ammunition, or could we just put this sports analogy here? Bulletin board material. You guys, you know what I mean? Like, say you're about to play Southeast this week, and then some of our players are quoted on Twitter that we're going to kill Southeast. They're terrible. We're going to whoop them. And so their coach shows them that tweet, and they're like, and the Southeast players all get fired up. You know what I mean? That's bulletin board material. Okay? Hitler doesn't, I mean, it's all there. Through the French. Okay? So anyhow. Yeah.
Where's most of our money that we're in debt to? Who are we in debt to most?
Okay. I'll have time. Hold that question.
Okay.
About 15 years ago, guys, I listen to the news every day. Every single day. I look at the news. I see a news article that Germany just made, this is 2010, just made its last installment on war reparations from World War I to Great Britain. They paid it off. It took 90 years to pay off $33 billion. Okay? That's crazy.
Did they have no reparations?
I had no idea they were still paying on it all these years.
Did they have no reparations in the Second World War?
Good question. See, guys, this leads to what? World War II. So, should we learn our lessons? Yes, from history, learn our lessons. So after World War II, guys, we're going to act totally different. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take over your country. Okay? We're going to write your new constitution for you. And we're going to pacify you. And we're going to make you our friend. We're going to invest billions of dollars in your country, help you rebuild, and then make you a customer of the United States. So exports to Europe after World War II will go up 25%. Why? Because we're rebuilding your countries. We behaved far differently after World War II. That was called the Marshall Plan, or the European Recovery Program after World War II. Okay? So we, guys, when we talk about between the wars, between 1 and 2, so many lessons. And I'm hitting you right now with them, right? This is it. Okay? So we will not ask for reparations after World War II. I mean, we didn't ask for reparations. Europe did. You know what I mean? Now, the Soviet Union is going to ask for reparations after World War II. They lost between 20 and 25 million people in World War II. So, and the Germans devastated Russia. Well, and the Russians devastated themselves through the scorched earth theory and this sort of thing. By some of you guys know. We'll get to it. Yeah. All right. So, war debts. Can you explain this? This is a merry-go-round of debt. Here's the thing. How does this lead to the Depression? What are the causes? So these European countries and Germany are spending so much time and effort to pay back these loans and these reparations that they can't focus on their own economies. Okay? And when the stock market crashes, where does the stock market crash? In the United States, right? Who is demanding payment? The United States. So when this all happens, they blame us for making them pay these debts back, for the depression. A lot of people blame the United States. Okay. Not really fair, but they borrowed the money, didn't they? That's what Coolidge said. They borrowed the money, didn't they? They need to pay it back. Okay, so, but they didn't. All right, so Max had a question. About the national debt. Did I pull this up yesterday? Oh, well, how about that? That was very timely of you, Max. Okay. So, stay there. Okay. So, yeah, I kept saying 36. It's 37 and a half now, trillion. Okay. Now, a couple of things to just kind of take. How many guys have seen this?
It just went up $1 million.
Yeah. This is the first time most of you are seeing this. Okay. All right. So, this is how much money the U.S. government has taken in taxes, revenue. $5.4 trillion year to date. This is how much the government has spent year to date. So this would be a budget deficit of 1.9 trillion this year. Holy crap. Okay, that's a problem. All right, now, where are we spending this $5.4 trillion? Well, check this out. Medicare, Medicaid, we're almost to 1.7 trillion. Social Security, 1.5 trillion. And the military, almost $1 trillion. I think yesterday I said 800 billion. It's more like $1 trillion now, okay? So these two things, these three things, that's what? 3.1, this is 4 trillion. These three things, 4 trillion. How much we brought in? That other one go. 5.4 trillion. So how much we got left? 400 billion, right? But wait a second. We got to pay debt, interest on that debt. So the interest on the debt this year is $1 trillion. So that wipes out all of the revenue and puts us in debt. And then all the other money we spend on other things besides Medicare, Social Security, which are called entitlement programs, okay? And then the military. Where do we else spend money? Spend money on roads, grants to states for things like airports, grants to states for medical research, to universities, grants for people to go to college, welfare programs, all kinds of stuff. Who do we owe this money to? That was your question, Max. But check this out. This is U.S. debt held by foreign countries. 9 trillion of 37. The largest holder of American debt is China with about 4 trillion. Then Japan, then Saudi Arabia. Those are the three largest holders of American debt. Any guys ever have a grandma that bought you like U.S. savings bonds? Okay, these are like treasuries. Okay, so you can buy these. China can buy these. Anybody can buy these. You and I can buy them. And it's basically loaning money to the U.S. government. And when we cash in those bonds or those treasuries, they give us the money back plus interest. Now, interest is high right now. Interest rates are at 6%. So this interest rate, high interest rates drive up this. So the higher this number goes, the higher the interest cost goes. So we can raise $1 trillion in taxes and it goes to nothing except interest on the debt, which is bad. That's the biggest concern about the national debt, is that it eats into this year's budget $1 trillion. Follow me? Now, we have the largest economy in the world, the largest GDP in the world, more than China. We have about 1/3 of the population. So, we got to do two things, guys. We need more revenue, and we need to cut spending. Who does that? Congress. Congress likes to get reelected. So they don't want to cut spending because that'll cause pain. And when you cause pain, people won't vote for you. And that's their number one goal, is to get reelected, not save the country from insane debt. They want to get reelected. Revenue, well, you could raise taxes. But what impact could that have on the economy? You raise taxes too much. You could tax the rich.
They're not gonna buy anything, and then your price gonna start.
Okay, so you take all of Bill Gates' money, all of Amazon guy's money, all of Charles Koch's money. Those are billionaires, guys. They're not trillionaires. You understand? And most of their money's tied up in stocks. All right.
Have a good day.
You too. Hope I answered your question.
What do they spend on Medicare if we don't?
Say that again.
Like, what do they spend
Yeah,
on
it's funny.
Medicare?
That is